The 2000 Ravens defense is one of the most historic, legendary units in NFL history. They allowed the fewest points ever, Ray Lewis, 2 years later Ed Reed, epic all-time superstars, arguably the best ever at their positions. Fast forward to 2023, and the current Ravens defense is producing shockingly similar numbers, but this time it's without superstar talent. Roquan Smith is really good, Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton too, but the Ravens are not winning on defense because of incredible individual performances. They're winning because of their scheme and entire team. Through incredible disguise within their scheme, they have more sacks through 12 games than any Ravens defense ever, and are allowing a league-low 5.5 passing yards per attempt. Zach Wilson is at 6.1 on the year, so it's like they're playing a Walmart Zach Wilson every week, despite having actually in real life faced Joe Burrow twice, Justin Herbert, Geno Smith, CJ Stroud, the Lions' top 5 offense. This defense is unbelievable and likely one of the best we've ever seen. Before we dive into their film and discover how they win without superstar talent, I want to thank this week's sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports site where you can pick players every day. They've got all the sports, all the days, damn near all the players. If you want to play and predict how a player does, PrizePicks is the move. To get going, you choose 2 to 6 players and select whether they go higher or lower than their projection. I love Durag Tua to just run through a sorry Commanders defense, so I'll take the over there. And the Saints allow the 28th most passing yards to running backs in the league, plus DeMonte is completely back, so I'll take Gibbs' under. PrizePicks is so much fun to play, it's the only app I've been using all season. It just makes football, or any sport, that much more fun when you're playing their game. It's easy to get your money out, it's easy to play in just a couple of seconds. If you want to give it a shot, use my promo code Rollins and they'll match your first deposit up to $100, that's promo code Rollins. The Ravens are leading the NFL in sacks, 47 of them, but they're not racking them up in the typical way where you have an elite defensive front blowing by the offensive line. No, 13 different Ravens have brought the quarterback down, and 6 of those 13 are defensive backs. The game against the Lions is, for my money, the best example of what their defense can do to a top 5 offense in a given game. They disguised pressure, they sacked Goff 5 times, held the Lions to just 6 points. This is a great example of how their entire defense can come together to deliver an unreal performance. Even without a superstar, their disguises create tons of pressure and tons of problems. On the first third down of the game, they pretend like they're playing man coverage by giving Goff a fake man indicator by mirroring Amon-Ra St. Brown with their nickel cornerback Arthur Maulet. This tells Goff they've got man-on-man coverage pre-snap, but because of their sneaky disguises like this where he thinks it's man, but then it's really zone, it makes him hesitate and he gets sacked. This is really challenging for a defense to pull off because of how quickly they have to communicate. Since they're dropping into this 2-deep zone coverage with a Tampa 2 defender guarding the middle, let's say Kyle Hamilton, the safety, was going to drop into the deep half and Maulet into the middle. Well, once the motion happens, look at how they have to quickly communicate to switch assignments so they remain sound in coverage and get to their spots while maintaining the disguise. One of the reasons that offenses like the Lions like to run this motion is to get the defense to bump outside to account for it so they can throw in breakers now that they have the leverage. Well, knowing the Lions are going to try and do that, everybody knows Goff loves throwing over the middle. That is the why to this coverage and disguise. This pairs brilliantly 2 drives later when they don't use disguise, even though they run the same exact concepts. One of the beauties of constantly disguising coverages is that when you don't disguise, there's still a level of deception. Here is the standard Tampa 2 zone coverage that they just ran, but now they're showing it plain as day, making it still somewhat suspicious. Now they don't follow St. Brown in motion, so now it's a zone tell, but they just switched their man zone tells at the last minute, so maybe it's a trick. They also surprise blitz Marlon Humphrey from his cornerback position, and look at how Goff has literally no idea. For a veteran quarterback whose best attribute is his mind, to trick him to the point where he has no idea he's getting pressure off the edge shows just how good Mike Macdonald's disguises are. When he does blitz, you never see it coming, because once again, broken record here, they disguise the living hell out of everything. This is back to the second drive of the game, where this is probably the best cover zero disguise I've seen all season. They're showing a deep 2-high safety coverage. They have just 4 defenders on the line. The second level of the coverage is a good 5 yards off the ball, not at all stacked together, up close, clumped together like we saw the Vikings do from a few episodes ago. This looks like a normal 2-high safety coverage, and then all hell breaks loose. Once again, when nobody follows Jameson Williams, this seems like a zone coverage indicator, and with nobody racing up to the line to blitz or nothing like that, Goff would never suspect anything. But the Ravens get the free runner and another defensive back sack, this time from Mollett, who was in coverage just a few plays ago. If the Ravens do have a superstar besides Roquan, it's their young safety Kyle Hamilton, who can do anything. Here he's originally guarding the tight end Sam Laporta in man coverage with Patrick Queen blitzing, but with the motion to hold the disguise, now he gets switched onto Amon-Ra St. Brown and blankets him easily. The disparity between Laporta and Amon-Ra is about as wide a gap as possible, but having that Swiss Army knife makes the Ravens lethal. Once again, Goff has no idea there's an extra runner. He's hot right now. He needs to throw to Jahmyr Gibbs, and Gibbs knows it, but this just shows how good the disguise is that they are able to constantly fool a cerebral QB for one of the league's best offenses. Obviously, other teams are studying this nightmare of a defense and try to plan counters against all the looks they throw at them. But how do you plan against a certain coverage look when the defense rarely ever actually plays that coverage? On 3rd and 4, Geno Smith thinks they're playing cover 0. They have 7 defenders on the line, deeper defenders looking to be playing man one-on-one, so he checks to an outbreaker, a typical cover 0 beater, and a deep route in case they squat on it. However, it's a disguise. The Ravens only rush 4, Geno is all heated up because he thinks it's a blitz, and the safety easily intercepts the pass. These cover 0 disguises put offenses into fits, where again they're showing 7 up on the line of scrimmage, threatening the all-out pressure, but just like before, drop into Tampa 2's zone, where Burrow simply sees nobody is open and has nowhere to go with the ball at all. What's maybe the biggest, most surprising curveball from studying this defense, especially when you consider all these defensive back sacks, is that they actually barely blitz at all. They blitz the 3rd least in the league. Ravens defenses of the past have blitzed like banshees out of hell under Wink Martindale, and you'd assume that this defense does too with 13 different guys attacking the quarterback. But they get after the QB in a different way than most. They use simulated pressures, and I'll tell you right now, they disguise them like crazy. Simulated pressures still rush the typical 4 defenders, but not the typical 4 linemen. A simulated pressure drops a lineman back off the ball and brings a second-level rusher at the quarterback. Even if it doesn't always work perfectly, it can still surprise the quarterback, makes him hesitate, gets favorable matchups for the defense where they're getting a defensive end on a guard, they get a defender to pop up in a surprise area. This is just one of the many ways the Ravens are dominating without big-time defensive superstars. They're able to create all these crazy disguises by having everybody on their roster from the top down be versatile and positionless. We saw Hamilton guarding multiple guys, but it's everybody else too. Linebackers can blitz, corners also, then they can drop back and play safety, defensive ends can drop into zone. Everybody is fast enough that they can cover a ton of ground, all of which is awesome. But to be this versatile, you do need to be lighter, which can lead you into problems that the Ravens have completely overcome. They love to play 2-high safeties a ton so they can roll guys down in disguise or protect deep and keep them back. But that gives them light boxes, which means they have just 6 or fewer defenders stacked in tight to defend the run. They use light boxes the 4th most in the league. If you can't stop the run, it doesn't matter what you can do against the pass. But despite the Ravens' lighter size, they're still good enough against the run that it's not a problem. The Lions are probably the most physical offensive running team in the league, massive offensive line. But against an even box, where the Ravens have 7 defenders, the Lions have 7 blockers, I'd still consider this a light box since they don't have an additional defender. The Ravens are simply textbook. The D-line holds their blocks and doesn't budge, Roquan and Queen shuffle parallel without giving up ground, and on this power run scheme, Roquan takes on 6'6", 306-pound Graham Glasgow in the hole and blows the entire play up. Their linebackers can take on these blocks, they can cover in space, they can press the line to create open gaps for the other second-level defenders to squirt through, and they are the anchors of this team, yet they aren't superstars. They don't have bookend superstars off the edge screaming towards the quarterback. They don't have a truly elite lockdown cornerback you can put on an island, an all-time safety who can lock down anything deep and intercept any pass on the field, or a truly menacing, ferocious linebacker who can instill fear in the heart of every offensive player before they even arrive at the stadium. No, this Ravens team has elements of all those things without the big names, the faces, the legendary brands. Instead, they've combined an incredible scheme with top-to-bottom versatility and intelligence from their entire team. It's the elements of those elite superstar defensive players mixed with incredible disguise that makes this Ravens unit an all-time defense. Sure, they have Roquan, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, and those are legit players, but they are not Ed, they are not Ray, which, in my opinion, is what makes this version so special. With Lamar and the boys doing their thing on offense, and this unit only getting stronger and more cohesive the more they play and disguise, the Ravens are finally going to win a Super Bowl.